Hello, friends. This is Chandrakant from Akulmach Technologies. And yesterday we discussed about the feedback, and we would like to continue on the same subject today. And to discuss further, I'd like to invite my friend from London, Mr. Neville Gun.
Good morning, CK. Good morning, everybody. I know it's pretty wet there. It's not particularly great weather over here. It's just that time of year, I suppose. And looking at the news, we're getting loads of feedback, aren't we? Some people call it communication, but a journalist is feeding back what's happening out there. And it's all pretty doom and gloom, frankly. I mean, there's no really good news. COVID, sadly, is still there and on the rise. The second wave is coming in. Europe's talking about another lockdown. Low travel. The travel industry is in a particularly difficult situation. But let's look at what we can do about it. And we can do something about it if we start giving ourselves some feedback. We started the conversation yesterday, and there's a great phrase out there, CK, and I'd like you to start this conversation off, if you don't mind. Feedback is the breakfast of champions. It's a well-known phrase. I see it on many corridors within the captains of industry, in boardrooms around the world. It says feedback is the breakfast of champions. Sometimes there's a dinner plate with a big breakfast on it, like the full English, as many people will know it, eggs, bacon, sausage, beans, etc., etc. And it says Ken Blanchard. Now, Ken Blanchard, is a really well-researched individual. He looks at behavioral change, he looks at performance, and a lot of people have read several of his books. But this one phrase, feedback is the breakfast of champions. What on earth does that mean?
Neville, I think yesterday we discussed about why people are scared to take feedback, to absorb feedback, because feedback is given to improve their own offerings and themselves. So knowing very well that the feedback of any kind, even negative feedback, is going to help them. Still, so many professionals, so many senior people are not willing to take feedback, and I would like to use this word "scared" to take the feedback because I think they are sort of insecure about it. Now, going back to your question, breakfast. I see breakfast there, so obviously it must be having some meaning. But I think logically, if I have to answer you, uh, feedback should be the first thing you should do in the morning. If I have to analyze this, but I leave it to you to enlighten me on this.
Well, it's good because we've started the conversation. You're giving feedback of what you're seeing. So let's analyze this. I mean, there are people on this which last for quite a considerable period of time, well over a day, sometimes 2 days. And why they do it is because it's really important that we get feedback. We give each other feedback all the time. When the sun is up there and you smile at the sun, as most people do, don't they? Do you smile at the sun?
Absolutely. It is a very
Well, there you go. Exactly. I like the sun on my face. We pay a fortune to go and find the sun in the UK. We go to Europe and we find the sun. We sit on the beach and we find the sun. We look up and we smile at the sun, because for some reason, it's lovely feedback. It gives me that warm feeling. And it's as simple as that, really. And Ken Blanchard's saying is, feedback is the breakfast. As you said, breakfast, first meal of the day. Start the day off well. What about what's in the breakfast? It's fairly consistent because you have breakfast every day. I mean, my day starts with a cup of black coffee, an espresso with some water. I take the water, then I drink the coffee, then I take more water. It's just the way I do it, And that's become a habit. It's my breakfast habit before I have the real breakfast. So that's my feedback. It's feeding my body. What does breakfast do? It actually feeds your body. It feeds your brain. It feeds the tummy. That it takes away, the nuisance, the noises that your tummy is making about feed me, feed me, feed me, feed me, feedback, feed me, feedback. Breakfast is the first meal of the day. So, just on a very simple analogy, we're now saying it's consistent, it's very focused, because there's a meaning for it. There is a meaning for breakfast. I mean, why do you eat breakfast?
Well, I think to energize, because the whole night you have not eaten anything, and your body needs to get into the groove of starting the day. So you need some energy. I think that is where the breakfast comes. It means basically breaking your fast.
And breaking your fast, exactly. You slept all night, so now you're having a breakfast, a break fast, and that's where the term came from. So when he's bringing this analogy, it's a metaphor. It's the breakfast of not of everybody. It's the breakfast of champions. So what's a champion?
In today's world, the champion would be the person who's all rounder, who excel in everything. And if you're talking about business guys, they have to excel in everything of their organizations. So that the CEOs can be a leader, he can be a worker at the same time, and he can be creating some sort of inspiring his team. So inspiration. So a leader has to play multiple hats, and for that you need to be a champion. That means an all-rounder.
Exactly. And in 6 words, feedback is the breakfast of champions. All of a sudden, that we've explained, that phrase has come to life. Why feedback's so important? How it fuels our body. It fuels our growth. It's regular, because breakfast is every day. There isn't a time that goes by that you don't have breakfast. You may have a late breakfast, which you might call a brunch, but it's still, you're breaking the fast. So if you created the habit of giving feedback from the time you start your breakfast, imagine what's going to happen in the rest of the day. I mean, frankly, I couldn't wait for lunch, because breakfast tends to be quite a small meal, typically. I mean, as I say, you could have the full English, if you like, as we call it over here, and it's a huge plate of food. Or most people, it's a bit of toast, toast and jam, a bit of, maybe a croissant. If you go to France, it's the end of a loaf of bread and a coffee. Typically, that's breakfast. Lunch is a bit more wholesome, gets you through the day. Frankly, I can't wait for dinner, because that means I'm going to have a huge feast. So all we need to do is to understand what this very simple phrase is. It's the breakfast of champions. We all need champions. We need great leaders around the world. And we're only going to grow if we get feedback. And it doesn't matter, as you said, it's negative or positive. Frankly, it doesn't matter to me. Feedback is feedback. For all those musicians out there, when I heard the term feedback, I was a bit of a headbanger. And feedback to me was when you got too close to the sound and it was whang, and it really did, gave you feedback which you really didn't want, and you would get rid of that noise. But now, actually, feedback means something else. It means we're going to grow. It doesn't matter what feedback you're getting. It's there for us to grow. So take the benefit out of it. Imagine it's breakfast, and take the benefit of what a breakfast will do for you. It fuels the body, it fuels the soul, it fuels the brain, and it means we can get through the day. I hope that's made a bit of sense to people, because we see all these wonderful captions around the world, these beautiful pictures that we see on social media where people just throw out a meaning, a sentence. But that sentence has a lot of meaning. This one has huge meaning. Probably one of the best sayings that I think is out there. So I hope that's helped. It's certainly got you thinking today. I know it's a bit later in your day, so you've already had breakfast, but I expect you're looking forward to lunch now.
Well, Neville, since you were talking about breakfast, etc., it made me hungry. But let me continue what I do, and you are basically concur on what I actually do. Before I leave my bed, I answer my emails. That is my habit for many years. So that gives me a chance to free my mind and think of other things. And the whole day, based on how I responded to my emails, I keep getting these feedbacks. Then my challenge is not to really look at it's it's like saying in a very crude way that ball is in other people's court. So I throw all the balls in the morning, and the whole day pass by getting their inputs. So I think if I have to think more deeply about it, what you're telling me is absolutely right, because uh, when you take the feedback or give feedback in the early in the morning, you have the entire day to take action on those feedbacks.
There you go. It's another reason why it's the breakfast of champions. Start it early. Start the decision making early. Get out there and really go and enjoy yourself. And as they say, there's only one person that can do this. It's not me, and it's not you, CK. It's everyone. It's those that are listening. Look for feedback. Actively encourage feedback. And the best person to acknowledge feedback is you. We'll cover how to acknowledge feedback, maybe on a different arena, because there's a lot of negative feedback out there, and the thing is, there's a way of working with that. And I'll just leave you with something very simple. Despite the fact we get feedback, it's up to us to use it.
Absolutely, Naval. In fact, what you said is very right. This is a very long subject. We can discuss forever on this. Um, Tomorrow is the CEO roundtable. Maybe we can bring this up again, and we can.
Yes, good place. It's a good place. Breakfast, breakfast roundtable.
Right. So we will catch up a little bit on this subject again tomorrow. And thank you very much for giving all the inputs. These are very valuable for us. We'll catch up again tomorrow, Nebu.
Brilliant. Good to see you, CK. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.